What's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Blood Splatter Chatter, bonus blood here on a Sunday with the missing link to do our final 2024 double feature of the year. Before we do next Sunday, we're going to be talking about our top 10 favorite movies of the year, which, as we keep saying, is going to be a bitch. I don't know how much you've kind of thought about that. I've just kind of been like putting a list together of all the movies that I want to consider for it, like the nominees. But it's definitely going to be a bitch to whittle that down to 10.
Uh, I got a second that. Usually I like to what I call freestyle something or off the dome.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of come up. I do a little prep, but with this, man, I've had to look at a list just because I'm like, if I try to do last minute picks, bro, I'm gonna be like, but it was like the substance and then the oddity and I've loved so many movies, especially
Right.
this last half of the year, that I'm really gonna have to study this list,
Right.
and make some cuts here and there. But it's not been easy. But I look forward to it. It's going to be exciting. It's as exciting as the last half of the year of movies have been, to be honest. So
Right. Hell yeah. No, I really do. I look forward to it too, man. But today we are talking about what we finally know the term for. I just learned the term last week. Twin movies. We've said like so many times, movies come out, then another one comes out, it's just like it. We bring it up all the time, but it's like we finally know the term for it. Twin movies. I was looking into some like movies in the past that you would consider twin movies. A Bug's Life and Ants both came out in
mhm.
1998. We've got Dante's Peak and Volcano, both in 1997. Disaster films depicting a volcanic eruption causing destruction in a small town. You've got Paul Blart Mall Cop and Observe and Report, both from
No shit. Yeah,
2009.
I
Yeah,
remember that. Oh, shout out to the report though.
hell yeah. The Truman Show and Ed TV, Mission to Mars and Red Planet. What's the really big one? The disaster movies. There was like
We
Deep
had
Impact and Armageddon. Both
Armageddon.
came out in
Yes.
1998. I guess 2 years ago. I didn't realize when that Elvis movie came out that there was a Priscilla movie that came out the same year. And it's just we've mentioned many times, like, why? What is this? And sometimes it's like there's things in the public consciousness that people are, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? There's a fear in the society that people are kind of playing on. Other times it's there's a script floating around and people are stealing ideas. Or other times there's a script that's been sitting on someone's desk forever, and then a movie hits. It's like, oh, that's it right now. We've got something like
We
that.
got.
Where's Ants? Pull that Ants movie out. A Bug's
Oh,
Life hit.
let me. You just remind me of some even more recent is we've talked about it before. Is that Upgrade movie with Logan Marshall
Yeah.
Green, who and Tom Hardy look very alike, and I feel like that came out around the same time as Venom, and it's this whole
Mhm.
like Venom the alien, but in Upgrade he's got an AI. It's like a voice inside their head that enhances these dudes in different ways.
Right.
it-
Same
that-
plot, just a different mechanism to get there. A little bit more
that-
hidden and not less obvious than other ones. What up, Rogue? Appreciate you popping in, man. My man says saw Nosferatu last
nice.
night. Excited to hear your thoughts on that one soon. Hell yeah, brother. Great promo for next Thursday. Yeah, we're kicking off Fang Fest. 5 weeks of vampire flicks, beginning with 2024's Nosferatu next Thursday at 8 Central Time, or this Thursday, just a few days away. Rogue saying I saw these both back when they came out and enjoyed both of them. I hope Sweeney does more horror movies. She has the face acting for it. That's interesting, man. And like
You
this is how I want to do this. We talked about it briefly before. Usually we would do, all right, let's talk about Immaculate for 20, 30 minutes. Let's talk about the First Omen for 20, 30 minutes. We're going to attempt. It could become a total shit show, but I'm looking forward to it. We're going to attempt to kind of talk about these almost at the same time. We're going to do our brief overall thoughts on how we felt about each flick, and then we'll just go through comparing and contrasting because they're such similar movies. They're
yeah.
both featuring a young nun, someone that's just entering the sisterhood. I don't know if that's the way to put it. Just becoming members of the church in that way. And when they enter these churches, they're both in Italy. One's in the 70s, the First Omen, and the other's present day. But they're both surrounded by all these nuns and these priests, and they're not really sure what the motives are and if there's
Right.
something kind of
Some
nefarious going
fishy.
on. And
Yeah.
both of them are involve pregnancies, one trying to bring about the birth of Christ, the other bringing about the birth of the devil. It's like insane. But what do you
What, Oh,
no good?
real quick about Sydney Sweeney. Like, I heard some, I haven't really seen that Euphoria show. I've seen like an episode. but
My
I've
wife
you know
watching. I've just kind of seen it in the background.
yeah, it seems interesting.
Mhm.
But I did see I saw a good as much as I needed to see of Madam Web. Um, that I haven't really seen much of Sydney Sweeney, but I've heard of her, and I've heard
Right,
bad things.
same.
So it's like based off this movie, though. I got a second what Rogue was saying. Like I'd like to see her. I thought she did a fantastic job in this role. And well, not to kind of segue into it, I think she might have done a better job than the lead in First Omen, to be honest.
Interesting. You know what? I saw the First Omen when it came out in theaters. And so then I watched Immaculate first this week before I did my rewatch of the First Omen. And after the first watches of both of them this week, I would have went the other way. Nell Free Scott, I believe is the actress's name. Yeah, oh, Nell Tiger Free. Free
Oh,
Scott. I don't know where I was going with that. But I don't know, man. It is really close. Let's come back to it. Let's come back to
okay.
it. After a
Oh,
rewatch, I kind of might agree with you. It's interesting of like performance wise, and then there's character, and it's kind of hard sometimes to
yes,
separate the two and what makes it better. But
yeah.
let's kick it off before we get into there. That'll be the first thing we delve into. But let's start with just your overall thoughts. Or I'll kick it off for Immaculate. Here's my thought. In Immaculate, when I'm first watching it, first of all, my wife loved it. She really enjoyed it. And I'm comparing it to First Omen in my head because I'd already seen that. And I just thought it felt a little bit more generic and it didn't have as many of the horror
Immaculate.
set pieces. Yeah, in Immaculate. It just
Yeah.
felt like a little bit more like they weren't trying to put their stamp in horror history.
Just
When
give
First
me
Omen, I'm
something.
not saying they succeeded, but I feel like First Omen knew its place because of the franchise that it was
Yeah.
trying to like enter. I don't know, they were trying to take their set pieces more seriously. But I I don't know, I just felt it was generic and there wasn't enough scares, but I kind of liked the story quite a bit. I liked the twist that we get at the end, and I did like the ending, but I felt like it was lacking other characters, side
Yeah.
characters. We could probably say that for both of them. But I think the biggest letdown was the lack of horror set pieces overall, but I liked it, but it was kind of mid-level for me on the first watch.
No, I agree because with Immaculate, like it's not a bad movie, but it's like I I felt like with First Omen, that's a tight, it's a prequel. I feel like we had a prequel before this or
No,
something. Okay.
no,
But
everything that they've done has been, yeah, sequels.
that's a really hard rope to walk, and I felt like with the way they set it up at the end, it was like, okay, this one made sense. Yeah, you could just say it was made for money, just for the franchise. But this one felt like it wasn't just being shoehorned in. Like someone took the time to really line up events.
Right. You're saying
Um,
First Omen, right? Yeah, I
yeah,
agree. Yeah,
Omen.
there's a good reason for it too, because that's a big unanswered question in the franchise is
Right.
who's Damien's mother? Where did Damien come from? So it's like it's pretty yeah, kind of not needed, but it wasn't like shoehorned
It
in,
was an
like you said.
interesting, yeah. And then Immaculate. It's a well shot movie, but it's like you said, I don't, it wasn't trying to put its stamp or doing. It's like you've seen this type of religious horror movie
Right.
before, but it's got a solid performance from Sydney Sweeney, and I did like the twist. It-
Yeah.
I we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
That's what I'm saying. I may have kind of limited us from
No, no, no.
our ability to just ramble about it. But all right,
I know
well,
that.
then I would say for First Omen, first time I watched First Omen, I left the theater and I kept noticing like the internet, I've said this a few times, was fucking crazy about it. It was like
Mm.
the first good horror movie of the year. So
When
I
did it come
feel
out?
like spring-ish, I want to
Okay,
say. Like
okay.
maybe like a little bit before summer. And Immaculate did come out like a month before it, maybe 2 months before it. So it did get the jump on it. But I left the theater and I was like, "Oh, that was cool." Like, I think I gave it a 3.5 on my overall rating because I did do a little short video on it. It's the only solo thing I've ever done. I came out of the
No,
theater and I slapped together like a 7, 8 minute video on it. And that was kind of my take is like I thought the performance from the lead in it was better. Her character was more interesting than the lead character in the original Omen. Like they did
yes.
more with the thematics. I think like people might be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I can't think of that actor's name in the original Omen. He's a huge actor. Charlton Heston, maybe?
Oh, the dude
That's not.
wasn't it? He was in a
Oh,
lot of shit though.
yeah, he was a big actor. Now I want to know it. Dun 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 dun. Gregory Peck. One of those big names. Don't get wrong, he does a great job in it. But if you think about the original Omen, it's a man having to find out that he's going to kill this kid that he raised, and they didn't really get in. They never made you feel like, oh my god, I've got to kill my son. They don't touch on that at all. You know what I mean? Not that they do that in this because it's a different plot, but I'm just saying I think it was kind of weak in that way. The lead in the First Omen is at least way more interesting, way more complex, and they deal with her a lot more. But the scares, I think, are really solid. They're just not enough of them. The set pieces are super good. The pacing is weird because it starts out super slow, I thought, but then it does ramp up quite nicely. And the twist, the first time, and I can't wait to get into this. The first time, the twist, whoa, holy shit, it got me. This time, I was like, how the fuck could people not see this coming? And my wife is like, how could people not see this coming? So we'll get into that. And I want to know where you were on that, because first time, totally didn't see it. Second time, now that I knew, obviously, it seemed really, really obvious, but fooled me the first time. But I didn't like my rewatch nearly as much as I liked my theater experience for the First Omen. So I don't know if watching them back to back kind of hurt me. I don't know if here's another thing, and this is nothing against my lovely wife, but here's I don't know if you're like this. I'm like this. I could be watching a movie that I'm not into, and it's like whatever. I mean, I can still kind of enjoy myself, but if I'm watching a movie with someone and I can tell they're not into it, it's like like I don't know, it affects me so much more because of that. But what up, Still, you sexy bastard? Rogue, Kenneth, Kaka, Bird, Sal. Appreciate you guys popping in, man. Appreciate you.
Because that means you're just a considerate person. Because it's like I don't mind wasting my time, right? But if it's like I'm wasting someone else's time, I'm like, oh god,
right. That's what it is. That's how I feel sometimes when I'm asking you guys to watch movies. You know what I mean? I was just telling you, I was watching one of the movies I picked for Fang Fest, and I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, the guys are gonna be bored to tears. You know what I mean? It's like it makes it worse. Stu's stoked to be what do you say, glazing all over Nosferatu on Thursday? Hell yeah, buddy.
But
yeah, what was your thoughts on First Omen?
First Omen, I haven't given it a second watch, but I was impressed with the twist. But
okay,
I can see myself. I don't know. It probably is like a first time experience thing, but it doesn't really hit as hard second watch. But I was like, I thought that was kind of unique. I was like, because whole time she's trying to figure the mystery out of all this weird shit going on. And it's like she's been the key to it this entire time, and it's like she was like almost like unknowingly a sleeper agent. Like she had been raised up by the church, and I was like, oh shit. So it's
which they both had in both movies.
Yeah.
There's this shit that's been going on, this plot that they didn't know about, where there's people watching them their entire lives and kind of guiding them to end up in the church.
Sydney Sweeney did say she was from Detroit, Michigan. I thought that was cool. Her character. I was like, shout
out. Oh,
really?
Really? I didn't even notice that. That's funny.
At the very beginning, she's like, "Where do you hail from?" She's like, "Outside of Detroit, Michigan,"
which was cool.
Oh, interesting.
It's another one where they're both American nuns going to Italy. Yeah, I just have a real quick where I was just writing down things that both movies do. I mentioned the Italian setting, the young nuns. We've got scenes where there's other nuns covering their faces completely. I thought in the First Omen that was pretty cool. She's like, and like the cloth going in and out of the mouth. That was freaky looking. We've got a suicide in the courtyard. We've got men making decisions for these women, which is very Rosemary's Baby. That's like a constant theme in religious horror, which if you look at like the church and everything, you do have the men above the women. The priests are like the boss of the nuns. That's the way I view it, at least. Deformed baby fetuses. We've got pregnant bellies being sliced open, and we've got extended, super intense climactic scenes. We've got at the end of the First Omen, the girl has like the conniption fit, and then at the end of Immaculate, we've got the birth scene where we've got like, you know what I mean, that long one shot on her face where she's giving birth, and those were just super similar.
I wonder if First Omen, I okay. So to compare and contrast, I feel like First Omen was a little bit more of stylish of a film. Maybe it had a bigger budget
Big
because
time. That's I need to look that up because I thought it was way more stylish. Yeah, the budget.
yeah, because even with the when the nun in the First Omen when she's checking out that she's running down the hall and she comes across that girl giving birth and you see the whole hand reaching
Oh,
out.
yeah.
And I'm
That's wild.
like, bro,
To me,
yeah,
that's like the scene from both movies. That's like the horror set piece of both films that I would say is the coolest moment. And there's
yeah,
just not
I
enough of that. I thought it was
yeah,
fucking crazy looking. For those that didn't see it, we literally see a girl giving birth, and it keeps
to a
on glimpsing. We're getting closer to actually seeing the vagina, and we're like, I don't want to see that. And then when they do, they show a close up of a demon hand just reaching out of the vagina. It's insane. Like,
oh
why?
girl fainted too, and I was like, I feel you, sister. I feel you.
To your point, the First Omen had 3 times the budget. It had a $30 million budget. Immaculate had a $9 million budget. So yeah,
Okay, yeah,
and you
yeah.
felt that. You felt that in the sets, in the outfits and
Mhm.
everything. Yeah, it looked. I thought the First Omen, the highlight of it for me is the cinematography.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
flat out gorgeous. Immaculate's fine, but you can really see the downgrade, if you can put it that way.
Man, I now jumping. Well, this is a compare and contrast. Now, while I would say overall, I think I enjoyed First Omen a little bit more, but I felt like Immaculate had maybe the almost a better ending. Okay, so what
Yeah,
took away from the First Omen for me was, it's almost like this is where it felt like a studio intervention or something. It's like we need a scene to set something up for you. We need the audience to know how this connects. When you
mm,
can already connect the dots if you've been watching it. But it's when the priest goes up to the mom, or she's raising the daughter and she steps outside her shack with the shotgun, and it's just like I got it, but it's like I felt
yeah.
like at that point it was a little unnecessary.
I thought it
Like
was
I
stupid as fuck. What
yeah,
do you think? I thought oh, they're trying to set up if they're gonna do a sequel to the prequel. We don't fucking care.
we
We
don't-
like Damien's the story. Don't try to
exactly.
like put yourself ahead of like what are you gonna do? I don't know. You're
Yeah,
gonna enter into the timeline of the main like trilogy or quadrilogy that came out after it. I don't know. I think it would be stupid to try to do a sequel now, is my point.
unless well, I don't know. I was just like, I can unless they're trying to set up for like a future sequel where it's like because Damien's twin sister is out there. Bro,
Oh, that's a
uh,
good point. That is a good point. Yeah, that is one element that they introduce is that there was that Damien has a twin. So
yeah,
I guess, and you know what? It did well enough. As I said, it had the $30 million budget. Oh, I thought I had the how much it made. I know it did well. $53 million. So it didn't quite
that's
double the budget, but
that,
still it's good enough. For whatever reason, I've heard this stat over and over that you need 3 times the budget to make it a really successful movie. So I don't know why that is the case necessarily, or
I think that only really applies to like big budget blockbuster movies. I
I could
feel
see
like
that.
there's a lot of leeway given to like something smaller scale, like a 30 million. Like now, if you make $10 million on a $30 million movie, yes, that's a
You're not
fail.
making movies anymore. That was your I hope you enjoyed your experience. We will
If you
not be
made
having you back.
you get the money back and then a little then some for like a movie that quite frankly didn't cost that much. I'm sure a big portion of that budget went to some of the actors because you had like Bill Nye or not. I think that's Brady. He's in a host of movies. Shaun of the Dead, Underworld, Love Actually. You've seen him in a bunch of shit. He was one
Mm,
of the pre. Um, the dude from I'm sure he didn't cost too much, but man, he's got a presence. I can see why he was
yeah,
chosen for Galactus because his voice is so
totally.
it's I'm not even doing it justice. Like it, he's effective though. The dude from Game of Thrones at the beginning, that was
Yep.
such a great opening scene. I loved that.
I thought that was badass. What up, Robbie? Appreciate you being here, my brother. Says a prequel slash sequel.
Yeah, for the first Omen, like that's what they set up. Like it
Hmm.
could be like a
I
maybe
would
we're
want to
seeing
see
from the
it.
daughters.
I don't know. It's like my last viewing of it sucked. Like that's why I'm less excited about it. If you would have
Yeah.
asked me before I watched it last time, like, hell yeah, that movie was pretty dope. But I just thought it was so, there were so many things about it that were so silly and corny to me that by the end, like you mentioned it, when they come back and have that little bonus scene at the end, I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, why are
Yeah.
we even doing this? But I don't know. First of all, it's worth pointing out that it was the director, Arkasha Stevenson, who is almost as hot as Sydney Sweeney, by the way. It was her first film. So it did not
Really?
feel like, yeah, and it did not feel like a first-time
No,
filmmaker. She was
not
one of the writers. She wasn't the main writer. She wrote it with a couple other people. But I'm interested to see future work from them for sure.
absolutely. Damn. Now you got me wanting to see hers.
Right.
Man.
E saying if the studio can make a dime, they'll make a sequel, even if it isn't warranted,
Definitely.
1000%, which I think they probably will. And I don't know, I'm maybe just a little too, like I said, I watched Immaculate, then this, and I was just like over religious horror by the end of it. So I might be a little more negative than the film deserves, to be honest with you.
And I feel that because that is, it's not up there for ghosts for me, but religious horror it can be very hit or miss for me, where because it's
Mm-hmm.
like it really all boils down to faith, you know. Now and you can get some horror out of that, but it's like with a slasher or monsters, you have all the goddamn faith in the world, it's not going to save you, you know.
Right,
But when it comes to like these religious antichrist movies, it's really playing with like psychologically with like faith and shit. So it's
right.
that doesn't really hit me too hard.
And you got to be in the mood for it more. I
Yeah.
do. Like the types of scares that we get in both of them. And I don't even know why. Now that I really think about it, there's like ghost story tropes in them. We've got people appearing out of
Creepy.
shadows, especially in Immaculate. Like, why the fuck is that happening? Maybe because she's got, you know what I mean? Like, what is that going on? Even in the First Omen, that's one thing I wanted to say about the First Omen. I remember saying this when I reviewed it before. When I watched the First Omen last time, I had just rewatched the franchise, and I
Right.
didn't or not rewatch, there's some of them that I hadn't even seen, and I didn't realize how like big of a inspiration Final Destination takes from the Omen movies. That's what the Omen movies are, is like these weird ass kills. Oh,
Shit
there's a
happening.
fire that started over here, it burnt a leaf, and this leaf came over. You know what I mean? These weird accidental type kills. And
Yeah.
it's like they're a lot more fun. They can be more fun than people might think that they're going to be. But then you've got all this religious, serious
Yeah.
shit going on. So I think they look at them and what the fuck do
Takes
we
away
do?
from. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this needed a couple more set pieces, and it could have just leaned into those like Omen type kills. Definitely a little more. That's really what it needed, like one or two, especially because it was 2 hours long. That's
Yeah.
the other thing. This one's a half
Yes.
hour longer than Immaculate. Immaculate's definitely got that going for it. I like what Rogue said. Immaculate felt smaller, like they did more with that, but the First Omen felt
Hmm.
bigger and definitely more cinematic. Perfectly
That's
said.
yes, spot
100%,
on.
man. Like, there's a lot of things about the First Omen that I think are a lot better, but I think I kind of almost like Immaculate better just because it's easier to watch. But I don't love either of them. Like
No,
on a rewatch for First Omen, or I will rewatch both of them.
now that I Rogue summed it up like that, it's like I what is his name? Bill Niley or Bill something.
Which
But
one is he in? The First Omen?
yeah, he's in the First Omen. He's one of the priests in the First Omen. He
Bill
was
Bill
the
Nighy.
Nahi. Okay.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I see him here. Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he's definitely got a presence to him.
Rogue said it perfectly. Like you know, I feel like I thought Immaculate earned its ending or had the better ending, but I said I gave First Omen the slight edge just because it's a more cinematic. But that doesn't mean it's
Totally.
But I'm right there with you. I didn't love either of these movies. I thought they were good for what they were, but
Right.
they're pros and cons really because they're so similar. It's really hard. I don't know. I feel like it'd be like, what's your taste or what you're in the mood for,
Right.
how do you want to see the subject approached?
100%, dude. Robbie saying I thought the First Omen was okay. I might have added an extra period in there. I might have extended that a little too long. A lot of potential. The music was banging. Agreed. The script thought the audience were fucking retards. Robbie, You're gonna get canceled saying, "Oh, I said retards. You said idiots. My bad." 3 out of 5, you digs. I can't believe you would say that. I can't believe you would make me say that, Robbie. I agree, and that's the thing. I am an idiot, and I think that's like it got me the first time. If you go back and watch that little review I did, I'm all excited about it by the end. It fucking blew my mind. That was so cool. I never saw that coming.
Good crowd
So
pleaser.
so let's talk about that. Like, did you also didn't see it coming, right? You didn't see the twist that she was actually pregnant with the devil.
No, not yet. I was like, okay, all right, you guys gave us a little M Night Shyamalan twist. Because it
Well,
could have
what'd you
just
think of it? And you can even compare that with like what the twist is in Immaculate, where we find out she's been impregnated by the cross that stuck Jesus or the nail that stuck Jesus to the cross.
I So I thought the lore behind Immaculates in Immaculate Inception or Conception was
How the fuck did I not get that either? Once they said that, I'm like, duh.
something
Duh.
that
I'm like, how did I not realize that that's what this movie was going to be
I
about?
didn't
How
know.
stupid.
I
No.
thinking of something like Immaculate, like fancy, just but I thought that it was more they approached it more interestingly in Immaculate, but it was more entertaining in the first Omen, given a first watch, because I'm like, okay, she could have just been a nun trying to, uncover the fuckery going on within the church. But then
Mhm.
the twist, like, no, 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 you're actually carrying the baby, and this has been your plan all along, you know. I thought that was interesting. They didn't really go anywhere with it, but I thought that was a cool little. I was like, that was engaging. That super.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see where this goes. It was more of a slow burn, or it was more gimmicky. I'd say in the first Omen, where Immaculate was more of a slow burn, and if you really think about it, they had the
Right.
better conception or immaculate conception.
Immaculate was kind of cool where they once you realize what the movie was, which like I said, I somehow did not put it together that that's what the movie was going to be about. It's an immaculate conception.
Same.
Duh. Totally should have got that. And once you realize that, second trimester, you're like, okay, so this is what this is. The first movie, you're learning what it is. She's being introduced, or the first act, she's being introduced into the idea of it, and so are we. And the second act, we know the idea, and we're learning what it means for her to be carrying this Christ-like
Right.
being inside of her, surrounded by these people, how they're treating her different. And then the third act is now we know for sure she's a prisoner. Like once they won't let her leave, then it's third trimester, which is pretty cool, and it makes it kind of cruise along to a degree, even though it's still hour and a half feels kind of long, especially on the second watch. But what I want to ask you about, when I first heard the twist, I'm like, oh fuck, this is science fiction. I think originally I was a little bit disappointed that it wasn't. I thought maybe they put that nail in her hands, and that was like a test. We put this nail in your hands, and if you become pregnant, then you are the chosen one, and this will be Christ. But no, they're like, we get into the DNA and we studied you know what I mean? They do like a scientific resurrection of Christ, which actually, the more I think about it, the more I kind of like, better than it just being like a magical thing. It's pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
weird. It's not what I expected, but it's pretty cool.
And that was like more of the focus of the movie with Immaculate was the inner networkings of something like that coming about. Whereas First Omen, it was just like you said, it's a gimmick. It's like first watch, it's cool, but second watch, like I haven't watched the second time, but I could see how that really you're not gonna be surprised by it. And it really they
Right.
like I said, they took it nowhere towards the end of the movie. So it's like that surprise is gone upon the first watch. It's a
Right.
gimmick.
Which, how weird is it? Like, there's like, how many times can I watch Scream knowing the twist the whole time and not give a flying fuck? It's,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, you can't, and that's the way I feel about it. Like, both of these movies, especially maybe Immaculate, but both of them are relying too much on the twist. So
Yeah.
that if you don't care about that, or you're rewatching the movie, it's not going to hit nearly as hard. There's not enough good, fun entertainment between the start and the twist.
Well, no, well, I didn't look up. the director for either of these movies, unfortunately. Now,
Mhm.
I'm willing to forgive Immaculate for that because, like you said, first timer. I think
No, that was
usually.
First Omen was the first timer. But let me actually
Ah,
Michael Moen directed Immaculate, and let me see how much this motherfucker's done. No, 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 no. He's done some things. Nothing that
first
I've
time.
ever. He did Save the Date in 2012. That sounds vaguely familiar. The
Yeah,
Voyeur in 2021. But
is that?
yeah,
I
so
think.
this is his fifth film.
No, I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Do they have Colin Farrell in it?
Which one? Save the
Voyeur
Date? Oh, The
or no?
Voyeur. It had Sydney Sweeney.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No Colin Farrell.
I mean, first time for First Omen having a first time director, it's easy to forgive because that felt like a
Yeah.
very, it was a very polished, commercial, entertaining first time watch. Um, it did, like you said earlier, it didn't seem like a first time uh in project, but
Totally. Shocked me actually when I saw that.
yeah, that and then especially with a franchise, for them to entrust that person with a new iteration
Hmm.
of that,
It's
that says
got a.
something.
I tried to look into the. I mean, I did look into the cinematographer, and like they didn't have even like on Wikipedia. Some people you can click on their fucking name and see more, and some people you
Right.
can't. You couldn't click on them, so I didn't really dig. But so that it tells me that really she's the person behind the look of the film. Like what you're
Right.
seeing is very much on them, and it's
And I
just to
liked it.
repeat, gorgeous. Like it's like
Yeah.
one of the best looking movies of the year, one of the best looking like religious horror movies ever. I
Yeah.
think it's better looking than most of the other Omen movies for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's like the color palette, like certain compositions that were shot, like when the nun is doing the whole self-immolation and jumping from the bridge at the same
Oh yeah, I thought that was pretty. I thought that was kind of. I wish they wouldn't have showed it in the fucking trailer, but I thought it was really cool this time, just like how it looked.
how they
Right,
yeah,
and
it was
just like
like
for some reason, I loved all the nuns like running away at the end. There was just something like really fucking cool about that. And then also when
that's
like there's like chaos in the streets, and the lead actress is out there, and there's like smoke,
smoke, yeah.
tear gas flying around. Like was beautiful.
What 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 was your favorite scene? Well, just speaking on First Omen, because I did like the self-immolation scene, but I don't know. There's something, even though it's kind of predictable, I did like the scene where the dude gets pinned by the car and she
Yeah,
tries
yeah,
to, help him out,
yeah.
only to realize he was gonna die anyways.
I thought it was silly how I thought it was cool. Don't get me wrong, it looked cool, and especially looked cool like I think it was practical effects. There was a decent
Yeah,
amount of practical in this movie. When she pulls him off of the truck, and then like she looks at the crowd, and the crowd's like, oh, and then she has to look at them to realize like, oh, is he cut in half? It's like, can't you realize he weighs like 50 pounds? Like,
Like even then, you need if you didn't feel the weight of the legs, or you didn't notice anything not dragging against anything. That
right?
come on now.
And why were you pulling anyway? Just like give him a
Yeah,
minute. Oh, let's get the fucking emergency vehicles involved.
it was
Sal
goofy,
saying
but
that bit was pure comedy. Just
yeah,
accidentally pulling him apart. Like you wouldn't hear like some nasty snapping tendons and shit.
I
Dude,
enjoyed
before I forget, just because I want to play this for you. I want to play this for people that are in here too that haven't seen Possession. So okay, this is talking now about the first Omen. At the end of the first Omen, she's pregnant with the devil. And also, that's part of the plot. That's part of the plot twist is that now we know, like, the whole, like, in the first Omen, we know that there's these priests that are behind the scenes that are trying to bring about the birth of the devil, and we never know why. So it's a little bit, we're told now we know why. Their goal
right.
is to bring back the devil because, and this is a theme for both movies, or a part of both movies, the church is fading away. People give less and less of a fuck about religion, so they're going to bring back the devil to scare people into coming back to the church. It's like,
And they
what fucking kind of crazy conspiracy theorist plan is this?
so
It's so
in in the Immaculate. So in the first one, I remember the saying like, or maybe I'm mixing them up, but one of them was that the goal was they wanted to their, or maybe this was like dressing it up as an altruistic goal, but
Mhm.
there's various means. purposes was they wanted to bring him back so they could control the Antichrist. You know, if they brought back the Antichrist under the church's eye, they could control him.
Yeah, I
Use
don't know why they think that they can control him either. Why do they think that's
yeah,
going to go? Oh, I was thinking like right when he got born, what if they all just died? What if he just
he
he
snaps
just
his fingers. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I don't know what their thought was.
that's what I'm saying. I think that probably was like they just told like to get people more behind on board with their shit initially.
Right.
It was like, yeah, we're gonna control them initially, but really it was just someone who wanted to bring about the birth of the Antichrist.
Right.
I
That's
felt.
and that's part of what they say is like there's two sects of the church. There's the people that
Mm,
are true believers more or less, and then you got the ones that just want power. And
hmm
that's kind of like their way of getting power, although they're saying it's to bring people back to the church. So yeah. All right, so this is what I wanted to play for you guys. At the end of the First Omen, when she's showing back up, she has this like conniption fit, right? She starts fucking flopping all around, and then she drops to her knees and like shit starts oozing out of her private parts. And this is probably part of the reason why I liked the movie even more the first time. I had just watched and reviewed a movie called Possession from 1981. And let me just play you this edited clip from Possession. This shit goes on forever. I edited it down so you can get a taste of it. And this is actually in the intro. I think the main intro to Blood Splatter Chatter on Thursday nights, or a part of it. But here's a clip from Possession. So obviously, like that's what they're doing. And like at the time, I'm like, "Oh, this is fucking
Wow,
awesome!" And
this.
now I watch it again. I'm like, "What? Why are they even doing that? What did you make of that when you saw it? Like, what did you think was happening? I still am not sure."
You know what? To be honest, I didn't think too much into. I feel like it's just for like to have like some visceral effect on people. Like maybe it's within the continuity of the story. Maybe it's like the birth of the Antichrist is like purging them of certain things. Or I don't, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe the morning sickness is a little bit obscure when you're carrying the
right.
seed
I
of
think
hell.
I think the reason why I thought it was cool the first time, like I said, I had just seen Possession. I loved the movie. I bought it, was into it. And I was like, oh, cool. This is a nod to Possession. Clearly, right? I mean, that's
Right?
clearly
Yeah.
a nod to Possession. And then when I watch it again, I'm like, well, but what is even happening? My
Because
wife
then
thought my wife thought it was like also a nod to the original Omen when Damien sees the church and starts freaking out. But then she's like, that's really stupid because she's been living surrounded by crosses and
her whole
wearing a
life.
cross. You know what I mean? So that doesn't make any sense. So what was that like? Just like the pre-birth? Was that like the devil's version of the water breaking kind of a moment?
I
Because
I
in
was.
Possession, it's like kind of a miscarriage of sorts. So it's not
Uh,
that.
and yeah, I would say that it makes the most sense. Like
Say I was saying
well,
like a demon trying to claw out of her.
yeah. What was a
Reminds
cool
me, I
scene?
always up with the body cut in half from sides. Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, the wife. When at the end when they get into the car accident and she starts, uh, is that the one you're talking about? Where she starts like when she's like fully possessed by or it looks like she's. Is that when they her and the priest, the dude with the gravelly voice, and she starts wigging out and like
Hmm.
puking in the car, and they get into the car accident. And she like
Yeah.
the scene that you were.
No, well, yeah. Like after that, like she right before, oh fuck, I wish I had it now. She basically does that. Like, I don't know, like she gets out of the car. I can't remember if
And
it's when
starts,
she
yeah,
has this little fucking fit. She
yeah.
starts
That could be
moving. What up, Chill? What up, my brother? Appreciate you.
chill. What's the deal? No, if that scene, yeah, I definitely thought by then it was like because even before they got into the crash, the priest was like, "Oh fuck!" Like he kind of had like, "Oh, it's too late" type of shit. Like it's
Right.
you know. So after that, when she starts like wigging out, I feel like that it was like signifying that you know water's broke, that baby's coming no
It's
matter
coming.
what.
I think
Yeah,
that is what it was pretty much just saying it's coming. Which by the way, this is I could be wrong about this. This is a random thing that I noticed on this rewatch is that the truck that hits the guy that ends up getting cut in half. It looks like the same exact fucking truck that in the first Omen ends up sliding down, and that sheet of glass slides off it and it cuts the dude's head off. It looks like it's either like it's supposed to be the same exact truck or just kind of a nod to it. And again,
I can see
I
that.
I could be wrong, but I looked up, like, I'm pretty sure that's like really similar fucking deal. I think what did you think? What do you think was the best set piece? Either movie, best horror set piece, scary moment, just something cool happening.
I would have to give the edge to First Omen just off of first. I think for lack of a better term, I think Immaculate is a little bit more cerebral with it,
Mhm.
everything. Even its set pieces, but something. I think the set pieces are just more fun in First Omen.
I can't
Because
even
even
really think of any set pieces in Immaculate other
yeah,
than
yeah, yeah.
when the fucking and this did get me the best jump scare in maybe both movies, at least the first time, when she's giving confession and she's leaning in, father, and
Oh
the priest keeps getting further and further away, and you're like, what the fuck? And then he's enveloped by darkness, and something reaches out and grabs her from the back. Like that was cool, but I can't
yeah.
think of another thing. Like the chick gets her tongue cut off, and we're like
Oh, when
way
she's
far
watching.
away. I liked
Yeah,
the view. I think maybe cinematography wise, one of my favorite shots in Immaculate is the view of the eye through the keyhole, and the single tear falls out of the eye. Like that was dope.
yeah. I mean, maybe I know it's kind of a stretch, but when she's like escaping and she's doing that, kind of gave me vibes of Azrael. Because I was like, oh, she's in survivor's mode now, 'cause she's like choking people out with the rosaries and shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I loved how when she hit the one nun over the head, she like had to take off her hat to. I think that might just be a general reaction when people get hit, but I'm just like, well, you felt it. Why do you need to take off your hat? Yeah. No, you were hit.
I could
Um,
see that though. I think I might take mine off too, but that was gnarly. That was a
yeah,
gnarly scene, and it was a couple moments like that where I was like, "Well, fuck! If you're willing to go there, like, why didn't you go there more often?" I don't get
yeah.
that in movies where it's like these both were made by Disney, by the way, so I don't know how much that has to do with
Wow.
anything. You know what I mean? But I
Shots.
don't know. I wouldn't have thought that you would have the vagina hand scene in a Disney movie. Technically, something made by Disney. But when I see a scene like that in Immaculate, like that level of gore, why not more of it? Are they only allowed that we'll give you 3 of those? Just like with curse words. You can get away with 3 fucks before you're rated R or whatever. I
I
always think
can
if you're
see
doing
that.
it once, like that's it. Like it's
I
in
could
there.
see. Well, it's funny enough. I'm pretty sure Disney owns shares of like porn or like X video. There's certain they. I know Disney has his hand in porn somewhere, and maybe that hand reaching out of the vagina and for someone is symbolic of their hand and things, and specifically the porn industry. But I I feel like it could be like maybe it is because it's like Disney and it's like okay we don't want you to go too far like this is
Right.
because people do their homework and tie it back to us we're gonna have a shit storm because we
Right.
you release a kids movie but then you've got this demented shit that you're supporting as well and so they
Is
might have like a
Is Charles Dance the dude's name from Game of Thrones? That's Cersei's dad's? That's gotta be
yeah
what you're talking about. That is pretty badass.
yeah
Yeah, I agree. You said it earlier. The opening scene of the First Omen is just you know what you're gonna get right away from that. Just
yep
like with the beauty of the glass falling. And I remember saying in my original review, this is kind of random, but in a lot of ways, the First Omen is like a Suspiria remake. It's got a lot of like it's the same idea where you've got a American girl going to Italy. It's not a dance studio this time, it's a nunnery, and there's shit going on in the background that she doesn't trust. But like visually,
very visual movie
camera wise, in the First Omen has a lot of Italian influence, like with the way that the camera's moving.
could
And
see
like
that
the look of the movie though is more reminiscent of the Suspiria remake. If you ever watch the Suspiria remake, that's the color palette that you get. It kind of looks like the First Omen. They feel a lot
okay
different, but
okay.
it's got that like a lot of browns and shit.
Speaking
But
of openings, I felt like Immaculate's it's well, that's why endings are so important because if we were going to just base, if people were just to see an opening of these movies, I think they'd be like, yeah, I think First Omen was better, because First Omen has a better opening. The Immaculate's opening was kind of I get what they were going for, but it was a little
Yeah,
lackluster, you know, a
it was
little
kind.
bit.
You get that a lot where it's like some character that you have no idea about, and it's pretty much going to be your main character is going to be in their position by the end of the movie, which
Yeah.
is what it is. And other movies have done that better. It was okay. It wasn't bad.
No, it
It's
was
like
a bit. No, no,
you get
no.
some visceralness, you get a broken leg, but it wasn't anything too special. And they did tie it
See,
back in, but
that broken leg part, where actually I didn't mind, but that part I was like, I could have, like you said, they could have gone there. They could have made it a little bit more gnarly because it's like a quick shot, you know. Like I would have, I don't know, make it
same as the tongue.
seem more
If
painful.
you're gonna cut that
Yes,
girl's tongue off, get a close up of her tongue being cut off. Why not?
right. Yeah,
Why not?
they kept
Uh,
pussyfooting it. I mean,
well,
maybe it could have been budgetary reasons,
you know
you
what
know.
else they should have done? I thought it was funny. I said this to my wife, like with Sydney Sweeney, which I'd heard a lot about. You know what I mean? We mentioned the movie. A couple people were like, "Ooh, Sydney Sweeney." I'll take Sister Paxton any fucking day of the week. Let's make that clear. I'm still taking Sister
Ooh.
Paxton over Sydney Sweeney. She's okay, but she's not as nearly as cute as like a lot of people were building her up to be. But what I thought was funny is she's not wearing any makeup at all. So they really went there with the no makeup. But they're like, well, we can't have any makeup. Can we have her nipples out most of the movie? How about the whole second and third act? Can we get her nipples involved in any way? So they do. They're like, get her out of that fucking nun outfit and into a robe and no bras.
You
I
know
was
what's
like,
crazy
okay.
about that is that I was watching something recently where someone was explaining like how a lot of actors, when they start getting producing credits, it's like they're not really doing producer work, but it's like that was like a stipulation for them to sign on to the movies. Like you take this role, you'll get a producer credit, you
Yeah.
know.
Because
And I
Sydney Sweeney's a producer on Immaculate. Is that
yeah,
why you're saying that? Yeah.
and I you can't help but feel like because she knows that her image, her physical, is a big selling point for her
Mhm.
getting roles. But
Specifically her breast, if we're
her
being
breasts,
100%.
yes. Let's be
I
yeah.
mean,
Let's
yeah,
narrow it
she's using
down.
them. Like
Two
they
reasons.
get her in the shower and she's not just like covering up her tits. She's
Yeah,
pushing them up and then covering
and
up. It looks insane. It's like,
yeah, it's very evocative.
right.
You know, but you know, I can't help but feel that was a stipulation. Like you know, just show you should give us a little cleavage. You know, some breasts. And, you know, you get a producer credit. You know, that's gonna
I
look
feel
good
like
in
that
the.
is the chill saying Sister Paxton, her superpower is naivety. That's a hard word to say, but that's just an act. A sister act, one might say. Hey,
A sister act. I like that.
all right. Well, shit, my brother. I don't know. You want to go ahead and rate
Great
these
thing.
bad boys? I'm having a hard time, and I feel like I said, I feel like I'm being a little harsh with my ratings. I'm really close on both of them. I have a hard time. I know there's a lot of things about the First Omen that I think are better. The look is just so much better, but that extra half an hour and how
Yeah,
obvious it was on a second watch really hurt it. I do want to touch a
I
little, just a tiny bit more, like on the actresses. I think in a lot of ways, why do I keep forgetting her name? Nell Free
First
Tiger.
Omen.
Yeah, in the First Omen, like there's a lot more on her face. I don't know. But then when I watched the Sydney Sweeney in Immaculate, when I did a rewatch, I'm like, I don't know. I feel a little bit more connected to that character. You know what I mean? Which says a
Yeah,
lot. Like, but how
yeah,
much of that is the writing? How much of that is the amount of time and like the progression of the story? She's got a better arc. I feel like in the First Omen, that character, she's awkward right from the get-go, and then it's like her arc just like she kind of stays at one note for a long chunk of the movie where
yeah.
there's more of a trajectory with Sydney Sweeney. And I think
Absolutely.
she's
Yeah.
pretty good. She's not bad. She's not like, oh, she only gets jobs because of her tits. Like I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that
There's
at
not.
all. Like she's got skill and she happens to have nice breasts. It's not her
And
fault.
did she show her? I missed it.
No. But I could tell. I could tell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will give you that. You can spot him. But no, I think you know she didn't show her breasts in the First Omen, so it was really. But I think you nailed it with Sydney Sweeney. We see her start off as like this naive, you know, optimistic,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like so you know, it's not like she just hits a switch and she wants to get out of there. Like
Right.
she noticed fuckery pretty early on. It's like, let me try to dip from this, and it's like they keep trying to they keep her there. But with First Omen, it's No, she did a fine job, but I don't know. I think like you said, it's the character arc of Sydney Sweeney. We feel more connected to her. She's
Totally.
acting more
I
her
I
response.
think the other one has more potential as an actress, and I don't know. I could be
Yeah,
wrong,
I can
but
see her
that
in.
was the vibe I got from her. I want to see what she was in.
I don't think Sydney Sweeney's going
Nell
anywhere though.
Nell Tiger Free. Oh, I looked it up earlier. She was a blonde in Game of Thrones. She was one of Cersei's daughters, maybe Cersei's only daughter, but I don't think she played a major role. She was in season 5 and 6.
Uh, was that Pedro I forget what his people were called, but Pedro Pascal's.
Oh yeah, where she went to live with them. I think so.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. I
Yep,
think
I'm
I
pretty
read
sure you're
that.
right, dude. She was in a show called Servant from 2019, 2023, a movie called Settlers, Too Old to Die Young, Wonderwell, and Mr.
Who did that
Steak.
young? Oh, I've been watching that. That's from Nicholas. I can never pronounce his name. Nicholas Winford. He did director of Drive and Ed
Okay.
Brubaker.
Oh, I see that. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ed Brubaker.
it's got Miles Teller in it. It's pretty. It's pretty. I haven't finished it, but they only. I think it only lasted one season, but it's been pretty dope. It's different.
Nice.
If you like Drive, you'll like it. It's very similar.
Hell yeah. All right, my brother. Go ahead and lay it on me, dude. Let's start with Immaculate. What do you rate Immaculate?
You know what? Based on the conversation, did give the edge based off like the the look, the pizzazz, the moments in First Omen at first, but
Hmm.
I haven't watched the second time, but you brought up good points. I can see how they wouldn't really hit or resonate upon the second watch. And like you said, it's a longer film. You're kind of after a while, it's like, all right, let's get to the end. I
Mm-hmm.
think Immaculate doesn't really overstay its welcome compared to the First Omen. I think it's kind, they approach that subject in like we said earlier, a more interesting or cerebral way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, less glitz and glamour. Uh, and it's Sydney Sweeney. I've heard some bad things about her, and I was impressed. I got to say, I'd go see more with Sydney Sweeney in it, given
Mm-hmm.
the right project. But I
And
will
she does kind
give,
of carry the movie, like in a lot of ways. Like she's the
yeah,
only real character in the movie,
yeah,
and in some ways, like I gotta say, she carries it better. Because you could say the same thing for First Omen. She's the only real character. Oh, we didn't even mention the girl. I thought she wasn't, not that she was a bad actress, but the kid
oh, the younger,
in the
yeah,
First Omen, they did not
yeah,
do much with that. They could have done way, like there was almost no need for her to
the
be in there other than to sell us, like get us away from the scent that it was really all
right,
about the main character, which that was my
yeah,
wife's complaint. It's like, well, duh. What the fuck else is the main character in the movie for, unless it's she's part of it? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's
right.
a good point.
But I will give Immaculate. I'll give that one. I'll give it a 3.5. You know what? I'll give it a three. And let me take that back. I think 3.5. I'm not really one for religious horror movies. I give it a 3.25. Um, it's it's worth a watch, but I don't think it's going to. If even if you like this genre of movie, I don't know if it would really resonate or hold a place, for people who might really like
Yeah,
it's worth a
it's
watch
gonna be
though, but I don't know.
forgettable, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
some people, like I said, dude, my wife's weird. Like, and she's the type, like she doesn't, like she liked it a lot, and like I respect her opinion on stuff because shit doesn't bother her that might bother me. But she,
right.
you know what I mean? And she's like, I thought it was really good. It didn't bother, like the things that bothered me. I wish they didn't bother me. but I think a
No, you
lot
know
of
what?
people, the reason I bring her up is I think a lot of people are gonna love it, especially women that have been pregnant, you know what I mean, that have kids. Like those are things that like we're not taking into account.
You know what's interesting though is like I was discussing this movie with someone, and they happen to be female, and they said the same thing that they liked it a lot, and I was like, oh, it was solid to me, but I think you nailed down the differences as to why it might
Right.
hit with more women more so.
I want
Um,
more scenes like the hand coming out of the vagina, and I bet my wife
right,
wants less scenes like that,
right.
which is why she might
The whole
prefer Immaculate. But I'm telling you,
okay,
more
so
and more, I'm like, dude, the time thing. It's like I felt like First Omen was wasting my time more. You know what I
And
mean?
yeah, they took it more serious in Immaculate, whereas like they followed the trimesters with at the First Omen, like her stomachs are ballooning in like 30 seconds.
Right.
It's a magic trick. Now you're pregnant.
Right. The
You know,
father's not human.
we can get away with that. But no, yeah, I think the women and like you said, pregnant women who have been pregnant that can definitely identify with that more. It's taken more serious, than First Omen. That's more
Right.
popcorn.
I'm
But
gonna go. What was I gonna say? For Immaculate, I really struggle with both of these. Well, fuck it. I'll just say it later. I'm gonna give both of them a 2.75 because you
fair,
know what I mean. I think I after rewatching the First Omen and rewatching Immaculate, I don't like either of them like that much, but I
yeah,
respect both of them for doing different things. We already
yeah,
mentioned the First Omen's got the better scares, it looks better, it's got some good performances, and it's got good atmosphere and a vibe. But it thinks we're fucking stupid. It's too long and it's too boring at way too many times. They didn't do enough with what they had. They should have had more set pieces. Have a little bit more fun, more First Omen or more Omen type of kills where just
yes,
random shit is happening. Random
yeah.
people are dying for no fucking reason.
That's
And
what I going into that movie. That's what I thought we were gonna get. 'Cause, like you said, I think that's what the Omen series is like. That idea is what it's based around of like these random. Yes, it's an evil motherfucker behind that little boy, but for the
mhm,
most part, like, he's making these weird events happen that lead to horrible deaths.
which
And
is
we didn't get
which is
too much.
fun. That's why the series struggles because that's a fun idea. We've got
Yeah.
random things killing people. That's Final Destination. That's the
Hmm.
epitome of a fun, stupid movie. And then we've got Jesus Christ involved. So we better be pretty serious about this. And it's like, I think, but I do think the right film could find that balance perfectly. Like
Yeah.
some might say the Omen did. Like the Omen is pretty serious, but it's pretty fun. You know what I
Richard
mean? Like,
Donner was yeah, he's a
yeah, he
very
found that balance better than I
yeah.
think anybody else has ever found it. Part two is more of like a fun slasher. Have you ever seen those movies, by the way?
Just the first one and this one. Not
Part two, we've got Damien's growing up a little bit and people dying around him, and it feels mostly like a slasher. Part three, why am I forgetting his name? Part three, Damien is played by Sam Neill, and he's like rising in power in politics and shit, like starting this big, huge like following. It's like epic and it's
Sam Neill
pretty,
Jurassic Park.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'll
It's
check it
badass.
out.
He's
Okay,
badass. It's a pretty dope movie. We should just cover them all one day.
I'm down. Yo, I thought I
But
knew
okay,
a lot.
what are you rating First Omen?
First Omen, based I didn't even have to watch the second time, but I can tell like I was already kind of like in the three range with it. I would go there with you the 2.75. Because I could easily see how it's not a movie I'd be like, oh, I want to check that out again. It's not. It's a fun first watch, but I could definitely see it be a struggle or a little irritating upon a second watch once you see past the glitz and glamour. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's I got to give credit to Sydney Sweeney in the Immaculate because she kind of carried that movie on her shoulders, whereas this one you had Bill Nighy, Neil, or how we should say his name, Bill Nye, the science guy. Um, the Galactus dude who's you had some other actors who have some presence to them in this.
I
Um,
thought he was Galactus guy, whose name I should know, the guy from The Witch. Like he's awesome, but he was like underutilized. They didn't use.
yes,
And here's
yeah,
another thing about it, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but like he's playing the priest that's in the Omen. I don't know how well you remember that, but there's one priest that comes to Gregory Peck and he warns them and he tells them what's going on, and he's crazy kind of, and that's him.
that oh
And this is supposed to be like, well, I guess it's supposed to be 5 years before that. So I guess you could say in this 5 years, like he changed, his personality changes quite a fucking bit, and he kind of loses his mind. I guess I can get behind that.
yeah, I felt like maybe that with that little extra scene at the end was kind of set and trying to
Yeah,
establish that so I can kind of forgive that now.
yeah. I like what Sal's saying. Sal's saying the first Omen should have just ended with the young girl saving Margaret and her baby in the
Yep,
fire. Yeah.
yep.
What did you think? Well, shit. I guess we got to touch on what did you think of the ending of
Then
Immaculate?
So I watched First Omen first, and I kind of watched these movies back to back, and so I felt like I was a little burnt out by the time I got to the ending of Immaculate, and I
Mm-hmm.
wish I would have reversed the order because there's more glitz and glamour with First Omen.
Right.
But I did like, I felt like the whole chasing. I was kind of like, where she's like, I like the escape scene, but it's like when the priest is downstairs in the catacombs or whatever. I was kind of like, all right, but I
Right.
did like the
My
ending
wife.
where she.
That's
Oh,
what I was saying. My wife had a good point, and I thought this at the time too. The one priest didn't deserve to die with the
right,
nail that hung Christ. You know what I mean? It's like you're getting his blood all over Christ's blood. That shit's sacred. I thought
right,
that, but more I'm talking about like her decision to kill the baby. On a rewatch, I realized that things like growling and shit. And I think we had seen that there's a bunch of attempts before that where it didn't like turn out or whatever. But
Mm,
that was I thought, I'm like, oh my god, what if it's Christ and you're killing it? But I guess if it's
take-
making those noises, it's probably not Christ. I've never heard him, but I assume
and
he
it's
didn't do that.
after everything she had been through, it felt like that would be she's forced to have a baby she didn't want. Like, they damn near killed her for it. That felt like a more natural response as opposed to the girl in First Summer. She's just like, I lost Damien, but I got the other one. We're just gonna go live in the mountains and live
Mm-hmm.
happily. I don't. That's too much trauma for a happy ending like that. Um, so I felt like the ending was more just. Or it was more effective. I did. There's more glitz and glamour because they got more the fire shit's on fire in the First Omen, but like we're talking about the ending scenes. I like the Immaculate ending better than First Omen.
Yeah, I kind of like the Immaculate ending quite a bit. She looks like I said earlier, she reminds me of Samara Weaving at the end of Ready
Yes.
or Not,
Yeah.
covered in blood. There's something about being covered in blood and having blue eyes that just like
Stands
and
out.
blonde hair, like it helps. Like you look fucking crazy. It's like Carrie and Carrie at the end. But
Yeah. Yeah.
and then she screams, she crushes the baby, she goes, ah, and she screams like Samara Weaving, where she's
Hmm.
got this like vibrato like to her scream. It's not this, it's like it's like I don't know, there's an animalisticness
Yeah.
element to the
That's what I'm
scream. It's
saying. Samara
pretty
Weaving,
cool.
she gave it her all in this one. After hearing such mediocre things about her, I was like, okay, I respect that.
All right. Did you ever grade the First Omen? Well, remind me again. Well, you
For
gave it 3.25 for
3.25
Immaculate.
for Immaculate, and I'm right there with you, 2.75 for First Omen.
Hell's yeah, dude. Yeah. There's part of me that like if you forced me to watch one again, I might watch Immaculate just because it's shorter. But those visuals in the First Omen cannot be denied. So I forgot to put together the slides for what we got coming up, but what we got coming up is Nosferatu. So Nosferatu 2024. I know I'm making it to the theater tomorrow at 1:00. So excited about that. Gonna go check that out, and I'll be getting together with the Missing Link and Stupak Shakur to talk about fucking Nosferatu. Chill saying, I understand, Vern. I feel the same way about pale skin, black hair girls like The Ring. It scares the crap out of me every time. I don't know where you were going with that. I feel the same way. But and then next week, man, next fucking Sunday, we're gonna be
It's going down.
getting together at the same time and talking about our favorite movies from 2024. Gonna spend probably all week putting that list together. I don't know. I'm tempted to watch some more to do some rewatches. I don't know if I'll have time to squeeze any in, but there's a couple that I'm tempted to have to rewatch to know exactly where to place them. But yeah, buddy, you guys in the chat, I love you. You guys are the shit. Chill, Sal, Rogue, my brother Stupak Shakur, pop culture philosopher. I appreciate you. Kenneth Kaka Bird. You guys are the shit. You guys are the shit. Missing Link, my brother, I appreciate you as well.
Always.
And we'll be back. We'll see you on Thursday for Nosferatu.